This is part two for the best wide receivers in the 2019 NFL Draft. Now, we already did part one, and if this is your first time seeing me, part one, I talked about Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, Hakeem Butler, Antoine Wesley, and AJ Brown. In this video, we're going to talk about Calvin Harmon from NC State, N'Keal Harry from Arizona State, Miles Boykin from Notre Dame, one of my favorite prospects to watch, Paris Campbell from Ohio State, and Preston Williams from Colorado State. So, that's a lot of states in that. Ohio State, Colorado State, NC State, Arizona State. Anyway, let's really get into it. I'm going to start off with Miles Boykin. Because I really, really like Miles Boykin. This guy, I think, probably is one of the best pure receivers in this draft class. When you couple his size with the things that he can do in terms of his route running ability, his excellent hands, his ball tracking skills, and his amazing speed, you're getting someone that could really break out. Now, honestly, if it wasn't for DK Metcalf, I think Miles Boykin would have been the one that they would have said stole the show. This guy had the best vertical jump, which I think was like 40-something inches. He was top 3 in broad jump, and he was number 1 in the 3-cone drill. Now, combine is not. I don't look at combine for the biggest things to really kind of give me what a receiver is. But the reason why I bring up those numbers is because you see it on tape. You see his ball tracking skills, and when he jumps up, his high vertical leap. You see the explosiveness that he has when he comes out of his break. That gives you a little bit of what the broad jump gives you. And then one of the biggest things is you see his route running skills. I think Miles Boykin is probably the best route runner in this draft, and he's a 6'4", 220-pound receiver. And it proved this to me that he was when he had the best 3-cone drill, which really gives you it gauges a better understanding of quick feet, and being able to stop on a dime and then go again and stop on a dime and go again, and being able to run and how quickly you can get to a spot. Miles Boykin is an amazing, immense talent. And I just want to say, like I said, he may be the best receiver in this draft class. Straight up. And there's not much else to say about him. I mean, I think that when it comes down to him, when you look at, to me, the 5 things that I look at for a receiver: speed, he got it. Hands, he got it. Route running, he got it. Run after catch, he got it. Aggressive ball tracking skills, he's got it. The guy is probably the most complete receiver in this draft class, next to Hakeem Butler, who doesn't really have like the great speed like a Miles Boykin, but he makes up for it with, other stuff as well. So, Miles Boykin, thumbs up. That's a receiver that if your team drafts him, you're getting a good player there. Next on the list is going to be N'Keal Harry. Big playmaker. And surprisingly had a fast 40 in the 40-yard dash. I think people question his speed a lot. A lot of people thought that maybe he'll run like in the 4.7s, 4.6s, 4.7s. He surprised a lot of people with his 4.5, but it really showed off some stuff because when it comes to N'Keal Harry, he made a lot of big plays in college. A lot of big plays where he was outrunning defenders. So it's kind of like, how does he have a 4.6, 4.7? But I think it's more because his quickness, he doesn't have good quickness. He just kind of has good straight line speed. Now, that straight line speed, you're not going to see it as much because I don't think he gets off the line. Even though he's so big, I don't think he gets off the line as cleanly. Because if he did, he would be able, with straight line speed, to be able to get great separation, and he doesn't. Not like what DK Metcalf gives you. And like I said, he doesn't have the greatest speed in the world. But even with guys that have 4 or 5 speed, he can still get behind corners for fly routes and go routes and stuff like that and such, so on and so on. But N'Keal Harry is one of those guys that I can trust. He's got really good hands, and he's a big body guy. He got, run after catches up there. Hands is up there. Ball tracking skills is up there. The only thing he doesn't have is the speed. But when it comes to a guy like N'Keal Harry, another player, big, tall guy that is going to give you production. And if your team chooses him, you're getting a real good player. You're not going to get the speed of that DK Metcalf, or you're not going to get even the speed of a Miles Boykin, but you're at least going to get a good productive player that has enough speed to be able to make plays down the field or just plays out of the slot where you can outrun defenders to go for, big, huge chunk plays or touchdowns. So next on this list, we're going to talk about Calvin Harmon from NC State. I love Calvin Harmon. Calvin Harmon is one of the more underrated receivers. Honestly, after the college season ended, the best receiver that a lot of people had, for some reason, was Calvin Harmon at one point. It wasn't A.J. Brown, it wasn't DK, it wasn't Marquise, it wasn't Hakeem, it wasn't a lot of guys. It was actually Calvin Harmon. As time went on, there was a lot of other guys that people started liking, so Calvin started to, drop in the draft. But when it comes to a guy like a Calvin Harmon, what I really, really like about a guy like him is that he's got really, really good hands. Now, he doesn't got the best speed in the world like N'Keal Harry, but his hands are amazing. He kind of reminds you a little bit of what you can possibly get from like a DeAndre Hopkins. Sorry about that. And with that being said, you're going to be getting a guy that can really make some real good, amazing plays with defenders wrapped and draped all around him. When you're looking for that big 50-50 ball, he's one of the best 50-50 type of receivers in this draft. And he has to be because he doesn't get the greatest separation. And then on top of that, he doesn't have the greatest speed. But I can trust him. Unlike what I could probably trust with DK Metcalf or maybe even a Marquise Brown or, some other guys in this draft, I can trust him fourth quarter, fourth down, 8-yard line, and you need that touchdown to win the game. I can trust him. And that's what I really, really like about him. He's got good run after catch ability. He's got good ball tracking skills. But just like N'Keal Harry, when it comes down to it, he just does not have the speed. But I can trust both those guys to make the big play when we really need it. Next on this list, we're going to talk about Mr. Paris Campbell, 4.31. Now, with Paris Campbell, this is a guy that on tape you don't see a lot of route running ability. And you don't see it because it's the plays that they're running. It's a lot of crossing routes. It's a lot of crossing or deep routes. There's nothing really where you can show savviness. But you do see some of the quickness that he does have. And when he did drills at the combine, you saw the quickness there. You saw that he could run routes, and he does have the ability. Now he just has to put that all together when he's facing cornerbacks in the NFL. But when it comes down to it, the guy is a big-time playmaker. And he's one of those guys where he's kind of could be a gadget player as well. He reminds me a lot of Percy Harvin, except for he's not a guy that they put at running back, or I will put at running back, period. But when it comes down to it, the guy can catch. He's got solid hands, not great, but, solid hands. He's got a lot of speed. He's got a lot of route running. Run after catch ability. The route running, like I said, you saw it at the combine, but we haven't actually seen it on the field. And then the ball tracking skills, he didn't really have to track the ball as much because, like I said, there's a lot of him automatically getting open so he can just catch the ball over the shoulder, or him running a crossing route where he can just, where catch is, just regular stuff. So, there wasn't a lot of ball tracking ability. But when it comes to Paris Campbell, this is a guy that some people are putting in the first round. And I can see him actually going in the first round because of his speed and because of his big-time playmaking ability. Reminds you a little bit of a DJ Moore in terms of he's a guy that can get that yards after catch by you being a little physical. But when it comes down to Paris Campbell, like I said, I can see him in the first round, and I can see him being a pretty good receiver in this league. Do I see him as a number one? I think that's based off of what type of team that he's on. If he's on, like, let's say the Pittsburgh Steelers, he could be a number one receiver. If he's on a team like the New England Patriots, he could be a number one. If he's on a team like the I even say like the I'm about to say St. Louis, the LA Rams, stuff like I can see him being a number one type of receiver. But put him on certain teams where, like maybe in a Baltimore, maybe not. He just could be the big play guy that can make, that can do all of those big play stuff pretty much. I can see him being one of those guys, anything like that. But just based off of who the quarterbacks and just the plays that they run, the certain type of plays that they run, that's what I'm basing off of. Not who's already on the team, stuff like that. But this is a guy that could be a number one receiver for a lot of different teams in the NFL. And last but not least, for the last person that we're going to talk about in this part 2 video of the top receivers in the 2019 NFL Draft, we're going to talk about Colorado State's own Preston Williams. I literally just did tape on Preston. This guy is another all-around type of receiver. The only thing he doesn't have is that big-time giant speed. But his route running skills make up for the speed that he lacks. This guy can make huge and big plays when you really, really need him to. He can high point the ball. He can run those routes. Is he a yards after catch guy? No. But is he a big speed guy? He's got fairly good enough speed. But the other things, the route running, the hands, the yards at the catch, you can get some good plays out of him. No, I don't think that he can be like a true number one. He could be what I call a low tier number one or a upper echelon number 2. These are the guys like trying to think of the name, like an Anquan Bolden or a Keenan Allen, where they could be number ones for a lot of different teams. But when you put them with a player like what you get with a Larry Fitzgerald, or like a Vincent Jackson being a number 1 for the Chargers, but putting him on another team, he's a number 2. When he played with Mike Evans, Vincent Jackson was a number 2 receiver. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying now? If you're listening to this and you're seeing what I'm getting, where I'm getting at, Bolden was a number 1 receiver for Baltimore, but when he was with the Cardinals, he was number 2, and he was number 2 all day because of Larry Fitzgerald. That's what Preston Williams is. But that's good enough, because if you are a running team or a good solid team that kind of has some other weapons with you already, Preston Williams makes a really good player for your team to just make plays and just be a good player, period. And that's what I pretty much like with when it comes to Preston Williams. And he's a tall guy, and he's got that big playmaking ability where I could trust him. He's that Marvin Jones to your AJ Green. He's that I'm trying to think of some more guys, but you get what I mean. He's that type of player to that number 1 echelon, true number 1 receiver. But Preston Williams is a guy, like I say, he can still be a number 1 on other teams as well. So that's the last name on this list for part 2. Please join me for part 3. And in part 3, we're going to be talking about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Riley Ridley, Stanley Morgan Jr., Andy Isabella, and Jamal Custis. So join me in that video where I get to talk about more top receivers in the 2019 NFL Draft. Please subscribe, please rate, please comment, and please join me for part 3. Goodbye.